Hello my dear friends, welcome to my YouTube channel that is Learning and Programming with Chetan. Friends, in our previous video, we have discussed about how we can configure Apache Tomcat in our Eclipse, right? We have seen that how we can create a web application, how we can configure it with our Apache Tomcat server, and how we can run it, right? Now in this particular video, we will be discussing about how we can change the default port for our Apache Tomcat Web Server. Okay, so let's see that how we can configure a port for our server. Okay, but before that, a question must be coming into your mind that what is the need of changing this default port, right? So friends, there can be a case that multiple applications are running on your server, right? So if one application which is already running in port 8080 and if you are trying to run another application on the same port, then you will get an error, right? And your server will not start. In that case, you must know that how you can change the default port so that you can run your application properly on different ports. Okay, so we will discuss multiple ways of changing the port. Okay, so in our previous video we have configured this Tomcat 8 version in Eclipse and we have created this application with the name Programming with Chetan web application, right? And it has also created this server folder, right? So under this server folder, we have this file with the name server.xml, right? So if you will scroll down in this file, then you will get an connector tag, right? And in this connector tag, you can see that we have a port that is 8080, which is the default port. So before changing it, let us do one thing. Let's run our application once. Okay, so let's first run our application on server. Okay, and let's see on which port it is listening. So here it is currently listening on 8080 port, right? Now let us do one thing in your server.xml. Let us change this to 8081 port. Okay, let us save it. Okay, now let's try to refresh it. So till this point it is listening on the same port. Now let us do one thing. Let's restart our server. Okay, so here we have restarted it. Let me go to the console and there we will see that where it is listening. So here you can see that it is started on 8081 port, right? Now let me go to the browser and let's first try to run it on 8080 port. Okay, so here you can see that our application is not running on 8080 port. Let me change it to 8081. So yes, it is listening on 8080 port. Yes. So here we have seen that how we can change the default port for our application, right? By using this server.xml file. Okay. Now let me close it. Now let me show you another and a simplest way of changing your default port for your application in Eclipse. Okay, so this is our server configuration, right? And here you can see that it is currently running on 8081 port. Now let me do one thing. Let us change it to 8082 port. Okay, let me save it. So here we can simply change the port of our Tomcat server. Okay, let me restart it once. So currently it is restarting and it has already started. Let me go to the browser. Let me refresh it. So here we have refreshed our application and here you can see that it is not listening on 8081 port. Let me change the port to 8082 and here you can see that it is currently running on 8082 port. So this is the second way using which we can change the default port of our application. Okay. Now let me show you another option of changing the port of our Apache Tomcat server. Okay. So friends, this is the folder, right, where we have installed our Apache Tomcat. So this is the main folder, right, and whatever is there in our application, that is an instance of our original Tomcat server. Okay, so under this Tomcat server we have discussed about various folders earlier, right? So here you can go under this conf, that is in configuration folder. Under this configuration folder we have this server.xml file. Okay, let me go to the server.xml, and here we'll scroll down and we'll go to the connectors, and here you can see that the default port is 8080, right? So here we can change the default port to any port which we want, and we can run the application. Okay, so this is another option of changing the default port for our application. Okay, so my dear friends, I hope that you are able to understand that how we can change the default port for our Tomcat server by using different ways, right? Still, if you're having any doubts, then you can ask me your doubts and your queries in comment section, and I would like to wish you all the very best for your learning.